Hi, this is Matt Fradd, founder of theporneffect.com. I'm here today with Peter Kleponis, a clinical psychotherapist in Pennsylvania, Father Sean Kilcawley, who's the head of the Family and Life Office in the Diocese of Lincoln, Nebraska, and Ryan Foley with Covenantize. And we're here today to share with you how we founded the Integrity Restored Network. So why don't we begin with you, Ryan? You're the Executive Director of the Integrity Restored Network. Why don't you explain a little bit about what it is?
Well, I think just in a nutshell, it's an organization dedicated to helping families, helping individuals heal from the wounds inflicted by a pornified culture, essentially.
Why don't we talk about how it started, Peter?
Well, it started really about 7 years ago in my practice. I started noticing many more men were coming to me struggling with pornography addiction. And they were looking for a Catholic program out there for recovery, and in looking around I noticed there wasn't any. So I figured, well, I guess I better be the one to create it. And so I created the Integrity Restored Recovery Program, which has been very successful. However, after a while, I realized that this was much bigger than I could handle, so we needed to expand it, and this is how I met these men, and we created the network.
Why don't we talk a little bit about that, how we all got involved. How did you and Ryan meet?
We actually met when we were at EWTN. We were filming several episodes of Women of Grace, and we got to talking about the problem of pornography and how we really wanted to help Catholics who were struggling with this, first of all, protect families, but then help those who were struggling with addiction.
So yeah, I met Pete at EWTN,
Yep.
and I asked him a simple question like, what's your vision for fighting pornography beyond what you do today in your practice? Yeah. And that led to conversations after conversations. And I had before even bringing myself to EWTN, what got me there was several years earlier I was looking for a software program to help my own family.
Okay.
I was raising a 17-year-old, or at that time a 16-year-old boy, and just thinking, boy, we need to have protections on our computer to protect against the pornography that's so available. So I was went out and found a service called Covenantize, and realized, boy, I had never heard of them as a Catholic father, and none of my friends had heard of them.
Okay.
So I called up the company beyond just getting the software and saying, I think, I could help you kind of introduce this product to the Catholic world. And that brought me up to Covenantize. Subsequent conversations, they offered me a job to help them do to get involved. And through that, Pete and I, we began to think, well, we need a more systematized way of training people.
Yeah.
And about a year later, we created a video. Matt, you were included in that. A video that we called Unfiltered. And at this point, up to now, we've done about 50,000 copies of that. Has circulated in the Catholic world.
We should probably say what that is too. What is Unfiltered in a nutshell?
Unfiltered was just a video that 32 minutes captured the conversation of how is porn affecting our brains.
Yep.
We did the addiction side of it. How is it changing our kids' views on sex and sexuality? And then really just at the end, what we can do as families, what can parents do in their own homes today?
Okay, so you've got Peter, who's a clinical psychotherapist. You kind of started this website, the Integrity Restored Network. You meet Ryan, who's working for Covenantize, and you're thinking, how can we better help those in the Catholic world? Yeah?
Yeah.
And so how did you and Father meet?
So I had just finished a degree at the John Paul II Institute for Marriage and Family. Okay. And I left the Diocese of Lincoln in 2009 to go over to get that degree. I came back in 2000.
And you went to Rome, right?
I did go to Rome.
Very lucky.
Yeah. So I was in Rome for about 4 years.
Okay.
And when I came back, the bishop made me the director of religious education. I started rewriting a chastity curriculum, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is going to be great. We're going to educate all of these kids about chastity. And it took me about 2 months being back and realizing how much the culture had changed since I left.
Wow.
Where when I left Nebraska, the biggest distraction in the classroom was kids texting each other during class.
And it probably wasn't with the smartphone, was it?
No, it wasn't with the smartphone. And then I came back and all the kids have smartphones.
Okay.
And I just sort of made the decision that we need to teach chastity, but if we're going to do that, at the same time, we need to start educating parents to monitor these smartphones, because you cannot teach chastity to a bunch of kids who are addicted to pornography.
Yeah.
And so I called Covenant to get a deal.
Okay.
Just thinking I was going to get a deal. I didn't know I was going to get pulled into this whole world.
Yep.
I met Ryan. I started running unfiltered workshops and really doing a lot of teaching on theology of the body in conjunction with unfiltered. And then the next thing I knew, Ryan called me. We had a meeting in our diocese to do some more research about the Catholic world. You were at that meeting, Matt, as well. And it's just kind of taken off from there. The only thing I can attribute is God's providence in bringing all of us together, because 2 years ago I never would have imagined I'd be sitting here in a room with a clinical psychologist, a vice president from Covenant, and a very, very famous Catholic apologist.
That's huge. Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah, well, I remember when the reason how we got in contact, I think, Ryan, was did you contact me or did I contact you? I actually forget.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, I remember you, at some point you contacted me and asked me to host that unfiltered DVD. And then at some point after that, we were doing more work together. And I came to the conclusion, at the time I was an apologist with Catholic Answers, but I would go and speak to these conferences of thousands of teenagers. And as I would stand there speaking about the gospel, I remember just thinking, the majority of these teenagers have seen hardcore pornography, and many of them are probably still looking at hardcore pornography. And I just thought, I want to dedicate my life to this in a more serious way, a more intense way. And so I got a job now with Covenant Eyes as well, about nearly 10 or 11 months ago. And so it's just been exciting to be working on this in this area a bit more. So what do we envision for Integrity Restored Network and this website and our work? What's the goal? Where are we going next?
Well, the goal is to really expand the awareness of the problem of pornography, particularly among Catholics and Catholic families, to show them ways that they can really protect themselves and protect their families from this. Also, we want to provide the resources for those who are struggling with pornography addiction. This is an addictive substance, and thousands, even millions of men, teenagers, kids, are affected by this addiction. They're caught up into it and they don't know where to go, and they want to find some way where they can recover and bring their Catholic faith into this as a part of it.
Now that's a good point, because I imagine when people learn about the Integrity Restored Network, there'll be this temptation to think this might be a site for men struggling with porn, but it's much more. So explain how this will...
It's much more. Well, first of all, when it comes to pornography addiction, no one's immune to it. Men become addicted, women become addicted, kids become addicted to it. I've had kids in middle school who are addicted to it. So people need to know about the dangers of pornography and what to do about it. So it's going to be a comprehensive site where we're going to provide education, we're going to provide resources, even a nationwide listing of Catholic therapists who are trained to treat this type of addiction. So it's going to be sort of this one-stop shopping for all the information you need to protect yourself and also help those who are struggling.
All right.
On the pastoral side of things, I think that this is a website that every single priest is going to need in order to assist us in our ministry. Because my experience has been that when I started promoting Covenant Eyes and teaching a lot on the family and theology of the body, especially on this dimension of the fact that we're all called to be children of God. What happened was I would give a talk on theology of the body, and then people would start to recognize, like, I want that beauty, but I have this problem, I'm looking at pornography. And so simply teaching the church's beautiful magisterium on the family started to drive these wounds to the surface. And the next thing I knew, I had young people, college students, a few seminarians, and then I started to get married couples all coming to me looking for healing. And so I've been working with clinicians in my local area in trying to both take care of their spiritual needs and those kind of psychological needs. And this is a website where we can bring those two dimensions together and kind of be a model for like how everything works together in restoring the family and our culture. Pope Benedict XVI says the new evangelization is inseparable from the domestic church. That if we want to evangelize the culture, we have to renew the domestic church. And I would say, and I think we would all agree, that pornography is the greatest threat to the domestic church.
Let's close with you, Ryan. If I could say to you, what is your most audacious hope for Integrity Restored Network? What would that be?
Well, I definitely think the element that is necessary is a service to the church.
Okay.
Right. So we didn't want one of the I think main purposes for the site as well was to help the church respond, but to give them a place to send people to.
Yeah.
So that every diocese, every parish didn't have to essentially create kind of their own content and figure this out on their own. We wanted to essentially integrate the services of many folks, including the folks here and others who will join us, to kind of spearhead this, be a service to the church, and really give hope to millions. Right? We want to be that. We want to be that for the church.
Yes.
I think we can do it very well,
Yeah.
and just great hope in it.
God willing. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for sharing with us. If you'd like to learn more about how you can protect yourself and your family, visit us at integrityrestored.com today.